All right, well then I'm going to say that the meeting is called to order at 7:02 PM and we do not have a quorum, but we are going to proceed with discussion among the members of the public who are here. So the new business I wanted to mention, and I was on the Community Preservation Committee call last, I don't know, when it was, at the end of last month, Carlton. And one of the things that I heard about for the first time that I just wanted to let the committee know about, our committee, is that gas station right at the end of, right across from the cemetery
Yep.
in town, the first cemetery in town is going to be, the town is going to acquire that property. And the plan, as I understand it now, is to keep the gas station building as some sort of a pavilion and possibly have public restrooms there, and then expand it to encompass the Florida Little Park that's right next door there. So that would be like a joint property. So anyway, I thought that was interesting to hear and nice to hear, to get that eyesore out of the center of town. And they will be looking for Community Preservation Act funds. I did see some, I forget what other minutes I just read, some other town meeting, that one of the concerns that they just have to get clear first is that they're not assuming some liability for pollution from the underground storage tanks on that property.
I'm sorry, they have to get liability for what?
There's a concern about the town maybe acquiring liability for underground storage tank pollution because it was a gas station.
Yeah,
Yes.
but they took those out, right? Don't they, when they take them out, don't they clear the area?
Well, they are required to take them out. How much, I don't know how much cleanup they have to do, or maybe it's just that the town wants to make sure, check and make sure that it has been done. So, but anyway, that's just an FYI.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah, those tanks were removed when that mobile station went out of business. They just have to check the soils for any leakage.
Right. I thought they had cleaned it out.
Yep. So the other thing I wanted to, I have an agenda item for recent outreach. During our last meeting, we all had read, the committee members had read the conservation handbook put out by the state. And we had homework on it and all came back and reported on some things we had learned and some things that could inform our work as a committee. And one of the things that had struck me was just the need for a lot of public outreach, just to connect with people in the community as well as other organizations and other committees. So I did a little bit of that this last month. And one of the things I did is I took a visit at the Tuckerwood Park with Monica, who's on the call with us today, and Steve Sobel, who's the town environmental planner. We had heard, I guess, Monica was the person who had informed us that somebody was taking care of those trails, that it looked pretty good. So we went down, I suggested to Steve that the town at least ought to send someone out to these parks once in a while to find out what's going on. It's nice that people are taking care of the trails, but you never know what things they might be doing that they shouldn't be doing.
Exactly.
So we found one. Somebody is taking great care of the trails, but they've also built kind of a deck on the riverbank with a picnic table. And I don't know, Monica, how big would you say that was? 12 feet, 15 feet?
Probably, I don't know, 20 by 12.
Okay, it's pretty good size.
Yeah, bigger since the last time I was there.
It got bigger? Oh,
yeah.
Not since the last time you and I were there.
No.
No, right, okay.
Since I was there in the spring, yeah.
In the spring, okay.
You ever
And
think about putting a trail camera there?
oh, that's an idea, but we did see a man walking there, and we tried to find out if he knew who it was, and he said it was someone who lived down the street, but we don't have a name. And we talked a little bit about it, and I've talked with Steve about it since, and he felt like we had to tell the town building inspector because it isn't up to code. It's made of old pallet wood, which isn't, I guess, acceptable construction materials. So, but I think one of the things that's important, and Steve agreed when I talked with him yesterday, is that we don't want to be punitive about this stuff. This is somebody who is doing good work there in the face of town neglect of all these properties for 20 years. And mostly he's doing a really good job. And this deck is, oh, wait, oh, Fran Jeffries is here. Right. Excuse me. Hello, Fran. Welcome. Hope you haven't been sitting there out. I've been blabbering and I wasn't looking at the waiting room. Anyway, that he's probably, he's overstepped his limits in building this deck, but there ought to be a way of dealing with it that we don't lose somebody who's got a strong interest and commitment to keeping one of these parks up. So I think that's going to be the town's approach. So we'll see. I don't know what the next step will be, but I think it's also an indication that we need to make sure we get out and see these properties. The town should be on a regular basis. I mean, we can't just leave it up to volunteers because they don't know what the restrictions are. So anyway, the other thing I just wanted to mention was I met with the West Bridgewater Open Space Committee Chair. Her name is Mary Wynn Lee. And we just talked, we did a hike, we hiked around Carver Pond, and we talked a little bit about what some of the things they're doing, and they have a much bigger group. I think they have 9 members or so. And they've done quite a few activities. They do a river walk every year along that West Bridgewater Park near the Canoe Club. And anyway, so I just thought it'd be worthwhile keeping in touch with her, and I'll try to at some point meet the East Bridgewater Open Space Committee people as well. So, and then while she and I were walking there, I also, the third item under this outreach issue is I met Mel Shea, who I met years ago, and he has been the dedicated volunteer at Carver Pond for a long, long time. And if you've all been out there, it looks really great. I mean, he's kept it up in really good shape. And we talked a little bit about how he's been able to do that. And I've suggested that perhaps he can come to one of our meetings sometime and describe for us what upkeep is involved in this, and how much work it is, and how he's managed to do what he has done over the years. So that's all I have to say about that. Anybody else want to report on anything new that's come up? Maureen, I know you haven't been around, you've been busy, and you're the only member here, so I guess the answer is probably no.
No, I was gone for a month. We had family issues in Florida, and then came back and my mother died. So we just
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So we've been busy with a lot of family issues. So I haven't,
Oh, well.
well, past 5-6 weeks we've been extremely busy. So yeah, no, I've done nothing except family.
Yeah.
So
Well, thank you for being on. I appreciate it. You
Yeah.
have had a lot.
yeah, we have. We've had we've had a lot. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Melissa, I wanted to ask you, is there anything particular that you're on for?
Well, I wanted to just give you a heads up about something that's going through planning board and the town council community economic, I believe it's development group. It's the zoning recodification that the town's currently going through, and of interest is this open space conservation development, which is one of the sections. It's section 8.3. And I just wanted to draw to your attention, the definition of open space within the zoning document indicates that open space can be defined as that portion of any lot which is not occupied or otherwise located beneath building structures or areas used for parking, loading, access, storage, or solid waste disposal activities. So I've written a letter to the planning board and the committee asking them to consider adding a definition for green space within this section 11.0 definitions, because I believe that when one hears the terms open space, they think of, recreational areas for residents, natural resources. They don't think of parking structures, empty space, solid waste disposal activities. So I think, there is this classification of development called open space conservation development. So that was the first issue. The second issue is that there's a calculation that's used to determine the number of units for these developments. And what's utilized as developable space, or is counted as developed space, is the 25-foot no activity buffer, which is a wetland, Bridgewater Wetland Protection Bylaw. So they're using that buffer and calling it developable space, which in turn would result in more units allowed for the open space development. So it's section 8.35. So I don't know if you comment on these things for zoning or advise the town, but I did just want to bring it to your attention, because I believe that it seems that the intent of the section and this type of a development is to do something good and increase open space within these developments. But some of the things that are written along with it do not seem to embrace conservation ideals. So I did just want to raise this issue tonight.
Yeah,
Thanks-
thank you
thanks for
very
hearing me.
much, Melissa. I'm really glad to hear that from you. Could you forward the letters to me?
Sure, happy to do that.
Okay, Carlton?
Yeah, thank you, Melissa, for that. I've been involved a lot with the recodification. I've reviewed it 4 or 5 times. You make some very good points, and I would like to add to your discussion. There is a poorly defined or non-defined issue, what's called a greenway or green buffer in the one of the over 55 development. There's some setbacks in there, and there's a required greenway. I think that's the term, and that's potentially some issues around open space, especially abutting lands such as cemeteries and streets, that kind of thing. So that's a really good point. The best way you can handle this, I talked with the planning board chair a little bit earlier today. I'm not sure what's going to happen on Wednesday night, but the best thing to do is submit in writing anything you think needs to be changed.
Okay.
That's the best way to handle it, and then obviously attend the meetings. But I've already sent in several pieces. And in terms of the natural resources, that's a little bit different than what we had in place. But the idea of that is to preserve forest land, not to enable clear cutting. But for example, what happened out on off of not Kerr Street, but
The Calthorpe property.
Calthorpe property.
Yeah, Magnolia Way.
That was 140 acres of 150-year-old trees that was clear cut.
Wow.
And a lot of us fought against that and tried to make it happen. And because of that, that's why we put this natural space to try to enable development, but also do it in an ecologically and climate-friendly way.
Thank you. I'll make those points and appreciate your comments.
Yeah, and Melissa, I'm really glad you're here too, because I thought that I had understood that there were, I think I heard this from Pat Neary, that there were going to be some kind of workshops discussing the zoning changes. And I've been asking her if there is anything, and she hadn't seen it, and I haven't. I don't know. I've looked online, maybe not very well, but I haven't really seen any explanation of the changes anywhere that I could find. Is there some background document somewhere that sort of gives an overview of what they're doing with the
It's poorly
changes?
documented. It's poorly documented. There are online, I believe, some documents that have some sections that they showed marked out and reorganized. There's other sections that I was quote unquote told in one workshop or open meeting discussion, they're in the drawer. And this has to do with the gateway districts. We had developed, Shirley Krasinski and I and others had developed a very strong guidance for how you develop those properties and how the building should look, et cetera. And I was told, and it was put into the zoning, and I was told it was to be put in the drawer. And I think the drawer, put in the drawer means it's not going to happen. And I think we have to have guidance in terms of what kind of buildings can go up where. And I'm sorry, I can't think of the name, but in that particular.
What's the status of it? I mean, there's a hearing tomorrow night. And
Yes.
to do what?
I thought it was to go through all of the changes. And I thought that way back when, this has been going on for a while, I thought someone had requested, the town planning board had requested that a full track change document be provided showing what's been taken out, what's been modified, what's been moved around. And quite frankly, I'm not sure if any of that's happened.
But do you know what is the meeting tomorrow?
The Wednesday night meeting is, tomorrow night is the planning board and the CED, the town councils, community and economic development committee will be meeting jointly to supposedly go over the zoning changes and receive information. That's all the agenda has. The agenda is on the website under the planning board and
Yeah.
CED.
And that's tomorrow for some reason, Carlton, I thought that was tonight and that's where Pat Neary is.
No, tonight was the historical commission and the town council's meeting right now.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
I added the link to the agenda that actually has the zoning sections included. It's in the chat if you can get it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd be happy to send by email, or it's in the agenda center under the town council community CED section.
Okay. Okay. CED, okay. All right. Thank you again, Melissa. I'm really glad to hear that because I have been wanting to look at this myself, but I really wasn't sure where the process stood and I hadn't found anything to read. And so that's very helpful.
Oh, no
I'll
problem.
take a look and see if I can find the actual documents. They're up there somewhere, but as we know, things are very hard to find on the website.
Yeah.
I'll try to find it for you. Actually, I'm going
Okay.
to jump off because since you don't have quorum, but I'm going to jump off and thank you for having the meeting and hopefully you'll get your members back.
Right.
All
All
right,
right.
bye-bye.
Thanks for coming, Carlton. All right.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome. Bye-bye.
All right. Let's see. Did you have anything else, Melissa, that you want to say?
Let's see. Well, the only thing I can add in is with regard to Lake Nipenicket and some of the there's a residential property that was proposed for change in zoning. The proposal was withdrawn, and the company that had proposed it is actually reaching out to residents in the area this week to have them come to an open house to discuss this project again. This is Thursday evening. So it may be that there is another zoning meeting ahead to change.
So this was the restaurant project that they were trying to put in the lake? Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted to change from residential AB to planned development district. And then it was, they withdrew it, I guess, and went back to look at what they were doing. And the most recent development is that residents have received in the mail or invitation to go to an open house on Thursday and learn more about the project.
Okay. Do you have to have an invitation, do you think?
I don't know. I don't know.
Crash it if we want?
Well, I think they're requesting that you pre-register.
Okay.
I know in the letter there was a name of a person that you needed to email and I guess, announce yourself and give your email and name all that. I'm not really sure what their plan is, just that to me, this signals that this discussion may come up again.
Right. Yeah, and I know they're also asking for that, there's that right of way
Yeah.
within the parking area there that they're saying the town has abandoned, and they're asking it be released in some way, or that the title be cleared up and it be given to them as
Right.
the adjacent landowner, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's under under discussion. I guess they're getting town's getting some further advice on that.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I did see the minutes from some other meeting about that. I think maybe it was the zoning, I don't know, but it was the CED, the Community and Economic Development. And
Yes.
maybe the zoning people talked about it. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, anything else?
No, thank you for hearing my concerns and my comments. Thanks.
Bye-bye. All right, then the next item I had under old business was the tree committee, and that part of what the zoning issues, I know what we talked on this call before. Nicole Holmes is the open space committee representative on the tree committee. And the tree committee is drawing up restrictions for ordinances to be adopted at some point, restricting the kind of tree clearing that happened out at that Calthorpe Park property, and also trying to protect existing trees within the city in the more developed areas as well, specimen trees. And Nicole's given reports on that the last few meetings we have. I don't know if anything substantial has gone on. I know one of the issues was whether those tree committee recommendations would be able to be included in the pending zoning changes. And I think it wasn't clear whether the tree committee would have made enough progress to try to get those changes incorporated into these upcoming zoning changes or not. So anyway, I don't know anything more about that, and then Nicole's not here. So I think we'll just have to put that off until the next time. Although it may be that in looking at this zoning information that Melissa has given us, that I might be able to figure out whether any of that's made it that far or not into these proposed changes. So,
Can I ask a question about that?
yes,
I mean, obviously something is needed very badly, but who would supervise that? When people are asking to build their homes, whether it's a single family or another big project, who's going to go out and make sure these trees are not taken down?
yeah, that's a good question, Maureen. I don't know. That'd be something to ask Nicole the next time we get a chance to talk with her, whether that's, I would assume that would have to be incorporated within whatever changes they're proposing.
Yeah,
But yeah, if it's the Conservation Commission, they're, I think, pretty overwhelmed. I mean, it's another one of those issues, just like the parks.
Yeah, exactly.
If the ordinance is passed and there's no provisions, and more importantly, no staff to follow up with whatever the restrictions are, it's not going to.
exactly. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
No staff.
But yeah, that's a good question to keep asking.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on that? Anyone? All right, Monica, do you need to get off? Are you in a hurry? We can take the canoe launch at Sunrise Drive now if you would like to.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
All right, why don't we do that? Because Monica is a guest. Monica brought this up at our last meeting. Maureen, you weren't here. There is Sunrise Drive is down at the end of South Street, and it's a residential street with a piece of it's a lot that is empty at the end of the street. It's owned by some trust or something. And Monica understands that at some point the trust wanted to give the town the lot. The town declined it for I guess just they had no use for it and didn't want the liability, etc. But Monica had seen the land as an excellent site for a canoe launch. There's a 10-mile stretch of the Taunton you can say what point to what point, I don't know what they are, Monica, that it's too long for recreational
Yeah.
canoers to do safely without having a place to pull out. And that this would be an ideal spot. And there is that vacant land around it. So Monica is pushing as her role as the Taunton River Stewardship Council representative to get the town to do something on that. Monica, you can go ahead and I actually had a conversation about, I met with Michael Dutton and Jennifer yesterday, and he mentioned the survey, which you had mentioned to me also, that one of the things that they feel that they need to do, that the people on the street may have some reservations about this. And so it would be a good idea to start with some outreach to them via some kind of a meeting.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Monica?
Well, I asked if they wanted me to present at that, and they said yes.
Okay.
So Maureen, just to fill you in a little bit, I am also the river guide for the Taunton River, and I've been paddling around for about 18 years. So I know this place like my backyard. So at Summer Street, there is a small parking area there. And if you
Yeah.
launch there,
I've used it many times.
okay. So if you're going downstream, the next place with a safe parking lot to load or unload is not until Rainham South Street East.
Yeah.
So there are some other places in between that I'm trying to work on so that people who can't paddle 10 miles down to South Street East have another place to get in or out.
Okay.
And just so happens that Sunrise Drive hits about the 5 mile mark downstream from,
Great.
so
Yeah.
right in the middle.
That's cool.
Yeah. So many years ago, I was able to launch from there, but it has since gotten way overgrown. Somebody was actually in there in the past few months and put something down on the cul-de-sac section to, like an asphalty kind of thing, but just rocks. So it minimizes the dust and the dirt. And somebody also took a piece of equipment like a bucket or just like a bulldozer thing and cleared to within 10 feet. So that takes away a lot of the work that was needed to be done. A lot of the overgrowth has been removed as well. So what's probably going to be needed in the end, in addition to a kiosk and maybe a sign at the end of the street, I don't know how the neighbors would feel about that, but because the Taunton River is so mucky and slippery, it might need a cement ramp. So the cost for that could be split between a grant from the Taunton River Stewardship Council, and it's been suggested that the CPC funds could be used for the other half. So that would be wonderful if that combination happened. But it has been part of my project to target different areas along the Taunton River so that one town would install a new launch site all the way down. My argument was that the lower Taunton River is beautiful, has lots of launch sites, but the upper Taunton has been forgotten. And we need to do something so that people can load and unload safely. Like Nipenicket Street is a nightmare, especially at shift change. So it's just needed, safety is important. So.
And access is important too. And if people aren't safe, they can't use it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
I know I had an accident at Cherry Street and I almost went swimming and there was nobody there to help me. So, it needs attention. It really does.
And Maureen, at the last meeting, Monica joined us then, and we decided that the Open Space Committee members wanted to send a letter in support of this. And also inquiring about the potential for the lot that someone had wanted to donate to the town, whether that would be a valuable open space parcel to acquire if it's free, basically. I have not written that letter, and I wanted to ask you, Monica, they are planning on having this public meeting at some point. I mean, I don't know if they're going to wait till after the winter.
I was told February.
Okay, all right. So it seems to me just in terms of the best time to do that, it might be better for us to wait. And issue, put a letter in once the issues are actually out there, or at least before, once the meeting is planned. I don't want to send a letter now and have it just gets lost. And, something doesn't happen for 6 months, it becomes a dead issue. Do
Yeah,
you agree with that? Do you think that makes sense?
yeah. I
Okay,
mean, we could bring it up at the meeting to see if, how the neighbors feel about having that that piece of property turned over to the town.
right, yeah. Yeah, and I know when I talked with Michael and Jennifer yesterday, yeah, they're just figured, most people on any street like that, a quiet street, their first impression is no, we don't want people coming in. Are there gonna be kids having parties? Are there gonna be people pulling out their, pulling their canoes out with beer cans and leaving trash and that sort of thing? So I mean, that is always a concern and an issue, so.
Yeah.
For
But I
anything
don't
and
see
everything.
that at, like at Summer Street, that just doesn't happen there,
Yeah,
so.
and that's exactly, that's the kind of information that you can bring, that would be so important, Monica, because that was my thought too. Yeah, well, what happens at other places? Is that a problem on the river? Are there situations where the neighbors would have reason to be concerned? And then so if it's not the case, then someone who knows all of these places, these launches.
We do
launch
this
sites.
because we respect the environment, and there's a lot of people in my group and other groups that go out there with trash bags, and anytime they see something along the river, they pick it up.
Okay, great, yeah.
And at the launch sites as well. So, there's a good probability that it will be self-maintained.
Okay, all right, well, that's really good information. The other thing I mentioned is, Michael did say yesterday, well, probably the issue when they were given the option to accept that property is the town already has a whole lot of property that they don't take care of, as we
Right.
know. So, what is the point of acquiring another one that they are going to have liability for if anything happens on it, or and don't have the money to take care of, which is a legitimate concern.
Right.
But I think from an open space perspective, anything on the Taunton is valuable conservation land.
It is.
And so.
And whether you do anything with it or not, I mean, it's just
Exactly.
preventing a home from being put there.
Right, you're preventing a lawn with pesticides and herbicides and tree cutting on the private lot, et cetera, which is good for the river. So I think that's well worth pursuing too. And I think there's a little more research that we can do about that property. I know you suggested something last week, Monica, about anyway, about looking in a little further to who the trust may be at this point and whether the property is still available or not. That'd probably be something we can
Yeah.
do as a committee without having town staff have to work on it, so. Okay, well, that's good. I just wanted to get your input on whether it makes sense to wait and save our letter for a more opportune time when it will get more attention than it will now.
Mhm.
Maureen?
Yeah, just for a little more information on, we have a site, it's an empty lot across from where I live, and we have people almost year round, not in the dead of the winter, but just this past weekend, we had a couple of kayakers or canoers park there and drop their equipment into the town river. I live right next to the town river, and we don't have any problem with people with
Okay,
in the trash or the cans or anything else like that. They just drop in and off they go, and they just take off with their business and go wherever it is they want to go and come back sometimes the same day and sometimes not for a couple of days.
okay. All right, well, let's keep those thoughts in everyone's mind until the public meeting gets scheduled, and I expect that, well, anyway, well, okay, that's probably enough on that. We'll see how it's set up, so.
Maureen, where are you? What street?
I'm on Haywood
Okay,
Street
all right, I know where you are. Yep,
by the bridge.
yep.
All right, good. Okay, Monica. Monica has also been involved in Styles and Heart. And she reported last time that there wasn't a whole lot going on there, and I think that's still the case. And actually now it's probably taken a few steps back because there's some huge trees that came down in the recent storm. So that's gonna take some extra effort.
Somebody's been up there to check that?
Well, Steve seemed to know they were down, but I don't know anything more other than that.
Yeah, because I need to take a walk in there. I was hoping for this week to find out what, what if any more trees need to be taken care of. So I need to get that bridge done before the end of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, I talked with Michael and Jennifer yesterday, and I told them that when I met Mel Shea on my walk at Carver Pond the other day, that it sounds like he's had really good success having some town staff help him with the Carver Pond activities. Like he gets truckloads of what he needs for trails out there on a fairly regular basis. And I didn't get names of who he's working with, and I don't know if it was the DPW or the highway department generally, I'm not sure where he's getting it, but and I mentioned that to Michael, and so that perhaps whoever's doing that could give you a hand on what you're trying to do with that bridge.
I mean,
as
I'm
well.
not the designated steward, so I don't know how much weight I have.
Yeah.
Harry is.
Oh, Harry is the designated steward. Okay.
Yeah.
But he hasn't had any luck though, right? Getting anybody that you said he checked with the
No,
Boy
he
Scouts.
tried to see if he could get the Boy Scouts to come in and do something.
Yeah.
But, if there's too many trees down and I can't get them removed, then I'm just gonna dump the treads into the park, and that's the best I can do. I have
Yeah.
to get them off my property before I move.
Right. Okay. All right, thank you, Monica. Are you gonna get off now, or are you gonna
I
stay on?
am, yeah, unless there's something
Okay.
else that you think I need to stay around for. Wine and
Well,
Meadow.
other than Wyman Meadows, just because you're the one who got me working on this, I'm so happy to say, when you asked that question about a year ago, at the CPC meeting, but anyway, I do, the Wildlands Trust people are coming out to meet with us on the 29th of November to walk that property and just talk about where we can go. I mean, I'm really excited about this, and I think they are too, that getting someone else involved other than the town who can help us
Yeah,
manage that property and lay the trails out and see what needs to be done, with them getting access to their 50-acre parcel on the other side of it that they have no public access to without going through the
They'll be
town
thrilled.
Wyman Meadows.
yeah. Tell
So
Scott I said hi.
think- What?
Tell Scott I said hi.
Okay, all right. Yeah, Scott and Eric. Do you know Eric Boyer?
Yes, I have met
Yeah,
him.
okay, so the Scott's coming out for Hanson Farms, and then Eric was coming, he was gonna come and meet me, and I said, well, let's combine the trips, so we're gonna do both on the same day, and so, yeah, I think that has some real possibilities, so.
I wouldn't mind going for that walk
All
if
right,
I'm free.
okay, I'll let you know, it's the 29th, but I don't know whether it's gonna be before or after Hanson's at this point. So I'll keep you in mind and
Okay.
see when it ends up. Great, okay, thank you for being on the call.
All right, thanks for moving me up.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
All right, the other thing I mentioned in my discussion there is both, I guess Fran is gone now too, so it's just Melissa, Maureen, and me, okay. Hanson's, Maureen, I don't know if you've read any of the minutes or anything, but we did go out to Hanson's, and we had that hayride and stuff, and so now Scott McFadden wasn't able to make that meeting back in September, but he is coming now November 29th. He's the one who has the expertise. Wildlands Trust has done a number of these projects with farms. They know the steps that need to be taken, what order, who's an appraiser that we can use, and what sort of legal advice does the landowner need, etc. So we're hoping that will be a good first start. And then I'm going to start working on the application for Community Preservation Act funds. They've just finalized their grant application, and there's a lot of information, just sort of general background on the property and getting support letters and stuff that I can start working on. the town, Michael Dutton will be the one to put that all together and sign it, but I'd like to get as much going on it as we can, so. So that's both of those, the Hanson Farms and Wyman Meadows. Those are the two main things that I'm working on, and I think they're both exciting. The last thing, the town website, Lauren couldn't be here tonight. She's the one who's putting together some of the old NRTB stuff that's been online. And Maureen, you'll be interested to know I had a long get together with Kitty Doherty recently out at her house on one of the last warm days we had. And I got a trunk load of stuff from her. She's moving her office from one room in her house to another. So she's trying to unload all sorts of 3x4 foot maps and anyway, I got a lot of stuff. A lot of it's really good though. And yeah, and some of the maps are I think will be really helpful for this Wyman Meadows walk, for instance, because it's just amazing how much work was done on some of these parks. Like Wyman Meadows, there's all these wonderful drawings. You know, they had the School of Design, the Conway School of Design. You know, they
Yep, I
had
know.
interns who did all that. Yeah, and we remember all that too. And this guy from NRTB, Wyman Meadows was saying that they have some parks that they manage that have never had this kind of planning work done on them. You know, we've got these giant maps of the vegetation, the slopes, the water drainage, the soils, and you know, potential trails and stuff like that. So that's a good place for them to start with. And he was really impressed with that. So it's nice that we have it. It's a shame that it's been sitting around for 20 years and you know,
More than that, I think.
it was acquired in 1999.
Hopefully I could join you on the 29th, going through
Okay.
White. Yeah.
All right, good. Yep. Okay. All right, I need to write that down. Monica and you, okay.
I had to make sure my daughter was flying back to Texas by then, and she will be.
Oh, was she here for your mother's?
Oh, she was, and then she's never been here so much, but yeah, she's coming up for Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
She'll be heading back.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, so let's hope for good weather that day.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see, and then the last thing, the town website, I was just saying that Lauren is working on incorporating some of the old NRTB material together and, you know, updating it and getting places, just getting something online where people can see where are these parks in Bridgewater, you know, and click on them, get directions, find out what the amenities are, maybe get maps online, that sort of thing. So she's working on that. So I think that's it.
Perfect. I didn't realize they took them offline. At one point, they were all online.
Well, you know, they're there. They are there, but you can't find them. I mean, you have to go into the Conservation Commission archives.
Oh,
wow.
That's where I finally found them. I say that's where I found them. Maybe there's somewhere else too, but I never found them. And plus they're out of date, you know, so.
yeah. Well, the website is not very easy to use.
Yeah, it's not. And of course, you know, we're working on this, but yeah, that's the caveat too, is the town's working on a lot of aspects of the website. So maybe it'll be better, but in the meantime, there may not be an opportunity to change it much either. So. You know. All right. I think that's it. At least we got you filled in, Maureen, and we got good information from Melissa. Thank you both for being on. And
Yeah, thank you. Have a good evening. Thank you.
all right, you too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Well, like I said last month, I tried to join you, but for some reason we didn't have good. We had lots
Oh, yeah.
where my mother-in-law lived, and
Oh, yeah.
the connection.
What happened to your mother, Maureen? Oh, wait, I'm gonna stop recording. Okay, the meeting has adjourned at, what time is it? I gotta find the.
7:45, it looks like.
I don't know how to, oh wait, stop recording. Okay, the meeting has adjourned at 7:47.